Hi guys. So I finally got the freaking webcam thing on my laptop to actually record sound, which is awesome! Yay! Hopefully you guys can hear me now. So I decided that I was going to talk about Disney princesses. I know. Princesses, so not manly or whatever, I don't care. I'm just going to talk about this because it's a subject that I actually feel pretty strongly on, which, bear with me, I'll explain why. But basically, I've been thinking a lot lately about the way society has kind of digressed in a way when it comes to humanity and, or rather, not humanity, like human nature and priorities in general. Um, what's interesting is that at some point, people really made an effort to be nice to other people and to be selfless and to really strive for a betterment as a human being in general. And it's really reflected in, like, especially the early Disney movies. Like, you can definitely tell when some of these movies were made, like if they're older, if they're newer, not just by obviously the way it looks, but by the way, by the values that are focused on, that are focal points in the movies. And what I noticed recently, Merida is the newest Disney princess. She's from Brave, and she was um, she was redone from CGI into traditional princess format like Rapunzel was when she got added to the lineup 2 years ago, I want to say. Maybe it was last year, I can't remember. But they made her look a little bit more like a princess. What they did was they combined the two dresses that she wears in the film, the really uncomfortable, tight turquoise one and her normal one that she wears, and they added like this cute little tartan sash to it that just add that Scottish feel. Honestly, I really liked it, and despite, I mean, they made it look really feminine, but they kept that free spirit feel to it. It wasn't constricting. It was actually pretty loose towards the top, like it was slightly off the shoulder, like not completely, but it was like slightly off the shoulder. There was roomy up in the arm area, so that way there was like allowance for movement. I thought it was a really cool design. Except you had your everyday average feminist bitches going in there and saying, oh, they changed her from a warrior into a good role model for our nation's girls, into a princess who's gonna sit back and wait for her prince to come for her. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. I mean, really, it's not that important. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing. I mean, I see all these women who are saying, oh, I wouldn't want my daughter to follow her as an example now, because it's like, shut up. First of all, Merida was not a warrior princess. I think she picked up a sword like maybe once in the film. And then when Mor'du came after her, the big huge bear came after her in the ruins of the old castle, I mean, it was her mom who saved her, and it was from pulling her out. It wasn't even from combat or anything. I mean, Merida is just as quote quote helpless as any of the other traditional Disney princesses. The warrior princess was Mulan, and I didn't hear anybody bitching when they made her princessy. I mean, most people thought it was kind of cool that she can go from being like, hiya, I'm the ninja of China, to being a regular everyday woman. I mean, I thought that was really cool and really healthy. It's like, you don't have to act like a man to be a strong woman, or hate men to be a strong woman. You can be a strong woman even when you're wearing makeup, dresses, etc., etc. And I just thought it was disappointing that people have degraded to the point where they think that the way somebody looks determines who they are. And it's like, that's not even the only problem I had with this whole dealio. It's like, okay, so you consider Merida a good role model. Why? I mean, really, if you think about it, if you watch Brave, like, it's a good movie, don't get me wrong. I love Brave. I thought it was so well done. But the problem is Merida's attitude throughout, like, most of the movie. Like, when she gets told by her parents that she's gonna have to get married, it's like, obviously she knew this. She's a princess. She's raised to rule a country alongside her husband. And it's like, I mean, she had to know it was coming. I cannot believe she freaked out the way she did. And it's like, it's one thing to feel apprehensive about it and angry. Yes, I would be too in that situation. But to refuse and to say that, oh, I don't care if my country goes to war, I just don't want to get married, that's so selfish. It's ridiculous. Like, princesses, the reason why they have all of that money and that nice, the nice dresses and the jewels and the parties, it's because they have a really hard job that they're doing. They have to sacrifice so much for their country. I mean, not so much anymore, but back in the day, I mean, monarchs' children were used as political pawns. They were married off regardless of whether they were a good match or not in the name of political alliances. And it's like, yeah, that was really sad, but I mean, if I were a princess, sure, I wouldn't want to marry someone I didn't love, but if my country was going to go to war over it, I would think that was my duty. And that, I don't know, I just would strive for the least amount of selfishness as possible as a princess. I mean, you're setting an example for your people, in a sense, if that makes any sense. But it's like, I thought about it, and I thought about how there's been a lot of criticism with a lot of the other Disney princesses. And it's like, I don't understand why. I mean, to an extent I do, but think of it this way. It's like, they're actually pretty good role models for girls. Snow White ran away from mistreatment, got out of there, and she went to live with the seven dwarves, but she earned her keep. She cooked them dinner. She cleaned their house. She took care of herself, essentially. She was working for her keep, and that's actually really independent. And she did it without so much as a complaint. She took care of them. And because she was such a good person, she was rewarded. Then you go on a little bit further up to Cinderella. Everyone knows the story of Cinderella. She's mistreated, and you're sitting there watching Cinderella and wanting her to punch Lady Tremaine's face in half the time, and you're thinking, why does she sit there and just take this? Why does she? And the funny thing is, the last time I watched Cinderella doesn't just take it. She made actually a couple of snide remarks, like under her breath a few times about her family and everything, like making jokes about them. I was like, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, sure, she continued to work for them and do stuff for them, but behind their back, she was just like, oh my god, you guys are ridiculous. But in the end, because she took the initiative, she went to the ball anyway, with the help of a fairy godmother. She went there and she was rewarded by being able to find her true love, and she got to go live in a castle. Then you go to my personal favorite, Sleeping Beauty. Had a similar problem to Merida. She was being married off for the sake of a political alliance. And it's like, sure, when she finds out, she's really upset. She goes upstairs, has a good cry, but does she say, absolutely not, I'm not going to do it? No. She gets her new birthday dress on and her cloak. She walks off soundlessly to the castle with the fairy godmothers. She sits and waits. She does it because that's a princess's duty. And it's like, part of the appeal of Sleeping Beauty, I guess, is because of the fact that she is, like, you can tell she's a princess. Like, it's almost laughable as to how graceful and regal she is. She has no idea. And the concept of being a princess when it's revealed to her is like a complete and total shock to her. Like, she has no idea. And I just think that's, like, really cool. The humbleness is really, really something I would love to strive for in myself. And it's like, as you go down the line of Disney princesses, it's like, you look at them and before, like, the mid-90s, it was like there was such a focus on just selfless princesses who sacrificed everything for someone else besides themselves. Not always. I mean, there's Ariel, but still, it's like when it came down to it, it was like this this core of unselfishness and willing and love for somebody else that drove them past where they were at that point. I think that's really cool, and I think little girls should try to be as selfless as they can. I wouldn't want my little girl to be like Merida. I honestly wouldn't. I want my little girls to grow up thinking, or if I had kids, I would want them to grow up to be selfless and just want, with a passion to help other people, and just with kindness, living with kindness and courtesy in their hearts. And I think that's important. And I think that today's society has really lost sight of that, and really we're degrading humans in general by doing that. We are digressing so fast. And I feel like, what would happen if we started bringing that simple kindness and courtesy back into our own lives and started treating people with dignity and respect? How much better would the world be? Think about that. But anyway, I know I asked in my Facebook status and stuff like that I wanted to have questions. I actually only got one question from my friend Nathan. So I'm gonna try to accumulate some questions, like maybe 10 or 15, and then maybe in a future video I'll do it, whatever, answer a bunch of questions. But anyway, I'm gonna sign off for now. See you guys next time. Stay cool.